everybody, welcome back to another video. This is episode 2 of scripting tutorials. I know that a lot of you guys may be struggling with scripting, so I'm here to help you out. Let's get straight into this. So, last time we learned how to flip on and off a light. Now, I don't think we learned a lot about variables, we learned a little bit. But let's do something a little bit more practical today. Something that my fan base might like. Let's get a basic A chassis, okay? So let's just get this. It's like a drift chassis. It's very basic. And we're gonna make a UI. We're gonna make an interface. So go to Starter GUI, create a new one, Screen GUI. Inside this Screen GUI, you want a frame. Now size this by clicking it and dragging. Size it whatever you want. You can move it, whatever it is. This is going to be our infotainment screen. So here it is. Let's rename this. Let's just do infotainment. So this will be our main infotainment screen. You can customize it how you want. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just change it to a nice kind of dark mode type color. Now this is just going to be a basic song player, but I want to do a little bit further than that. So let's just have like a top bar up here, or how about we have like 3 buttons? So this button is music. This button is maps. And this button is settings. Now we'll go ahead and click all these 0.9. So now they're buttons and they actually look pretty good. Now in between these buttons, we'll put something in here, and this is just UI design right now. This isn't anything special. We'll just put the username, or maybe how about instead of that, we'll just have all these up here, and then we'll have 2 labels: username and then time. So we'll have the person's username and the current time. Now let's go ahead and we'll turn border size pixel on these to 0. So now there's no border. And we'll go ahead and make these 0.9 visibility. Of course there's a line here, which I do want to separate these top pieces from the bottom ones. So now that we have all that, let's start working on our basic our settings, music, and maps. But for our home screen, we want something that we can return to home for. So, if something happens, like let's say you click off of it and you can't click on any of these to adjust it, up in the corner up here, there's a little UI button. Go and click that off, click it back on, and you can now move things. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna move these to the side a little bit, just a little, enough that we can have some sort of home button. Maybe we can have all of them but that bottom one, so then it's just a home button down there. So now we'll just put like a home button, text button right down in that corner, and name it Go Home. Of course we'll make the transparency 0.9. There we go. Now we got our Go Home button. So let's start working on some other things, such as, no. Actually, you know what? I feel like we should actually have a little side menu. And here's what I mean with it. We need to adjust everything so it's perfect. So, for example, for our main menu, we're gonna go down here, make the size 1,0,1,0. Now that means that it's 1, which means it'll be the entire length of this. 0, which means there's no specific length. 1, which means it'll be entire length. So basically 1, doing this sizes it to the same size as this automatically. So if you size this bigger, it'll automatically size it. So that's pretty useful. And then just go ahead and make that invisible, and take all of that, put it in there. Alright? Now, something that we want to do, okay, is I'm gonna add the music buttons, the different things over here. Call this music. We'll go ahead and get our settings button right here. Settings. And then we'll rename this home. And then for our maps button, we'll go ahead and move this up here, and that will complete our little thing here. We'll rename that maps. So now we have all these buttons over here, and then this is our home screen, alright? So let's go ahead, and I want to make these a little bit brighter, okay? So I'm gonna do 0.8 on these. Actually, no, I like these, how they are. That's strange. Oh, I see. I was doing 0.99. Alright. Alright, sorry about that. So this will be our side menu, and we'll go ahead and make a new frame called side menu. Without the I. Side menu. Now this will span the entire thing again. Make sure there's a 0 there. So now, like that, invisible. And we'll put the music tabs, that's not one. There we go. Get that one. Home. We'll go and put those into the side menu. They're going to stay here. So if we turn off our home menu, then our side menu is still here. As you can see. So now we just need to type in here, maps, music, and settings. Now, we need to set up our maps, music, and settings menu. So let's go ahead and disable the main menu, and we'll create the maps, okay? And the maps is super easy because you just size it, rename it maps menu, and this will just be visible and invisible. Now just go into images, do like a, I don't know, images, let's do a map. I don't know, any sort of like infotainment type map. Pretty much anything you want. Let's see if I can find a good one. If I can't, I have one. That's like Google Maps logo, although that's too, like, doesn't look good. Does that look fine? No, not that. I can just use one of the maps that I personally imported. So if I go to my images, we can just scroll down and find my map. So here's my map. Go and copy it and put it into the maps menu. Paste. There's our map. So now with this map, we're going to make that invisible. That'll be our maps menu. Now, I'm actually going to rename this instead of go home. I'm just going to name it home, because then it looks good. So now that we've got that, we need to work on the settings menu. Now, what should the settings include? I'll just put a simple volume. It'll be settings, and then it'll just be a, not text label, text box right here. Like right in the middle. This will be named volume. And then there will be a text button. Text button right below it that will be set volume. And we'll name this set volume. Make it 0.8 or 0.5. We'll do let's do 0.8. 0.8 sounds good. 0.8 visibility. So now set the volume to 6. Click. That's now the volume. For now, that's just going to be a 0. Now we have the settings there. Go ahead and make that invisible. The music, just put a frame down. This will be named music. Now that we got our music box here, just got to make sure everything's working. It is. Now that we got our music box here, go ahead and make this invisible or whatever you want, really. Again, you can customize this any way you want to. We'll just add a simple song. Just a Roblox song. So have a text button, or rename this Music 1, right? And then inside of it, put a number value, right? Click on it, rename it ID, all caps ID. Now get any song from Roblox. We'll just get, I don't know, some random thing like this. Copy that, delete, paste in here. Now it may not work, alright? Basically what you need to do is you need to click over here where the number is. Make sure you only get numbers. Copy that. Go down here, paste it. There you go. Now you got your ID in there. You can add as much music as you want. You can change these to whatever you want. You can add, in fact, what I'm going to do actually is a scrolling frame. Now this is a normal frame, except you can scroll it, which means you could add more music to it. So go and do that and rename that music, make it invisible, and add our music to there. So now you can scroll and you'll see it. Now go ahead and adjust your music to where you want it inside the frame. This up here to where it snaps. There we go, snapped. So now we have our music in there. We can rename this whatever we want, like My Music 1. And then, alright, so now that we have the base stuff down, go ahead and make your music invisible, and we're just going to keep all of it invisible. So now there's only a side menu. So go ahead and have a local script. It needs to be a local script, okay? Now, this is where the scripting really takes place. That was really setting everything up. So now put the infotainment. Actually, we'll keep it out here. We'll keep it out here for now so we can test it. Name this main script, or just main. And now you need your variables. So your variables, there are things that you can reference later on. So for example, if I do, make sure you add a local in the beginning. You'll learn about that later, like what that does, how that affects variables, but Roblox wants you to do it, so you're just going to do it for now. Let's do local, main menu, equals script.parent.main menu. There you go. Now you can reference main menu. visible equals true. Now you made the main menu visible. And I mean, that's what we're going to do. End vars. So that's what we're going to do there. Now, go ahead and get all your variables set up, just like so. I'll leave you to copy this down. Let's do music equals script.parent.music. Local s equals script.parent.settings. Local sm equals script.parent.side menu. Local maps. mp equals script.parent.maps menu. And now that we have our maps, main, music, settings, side menu, now we have all that, we're ready to script. So, first we're going to script the side menu. So, let's do sm dot. So now you're inside the side menu, basically. And you can search through this by doing that. Scroll down, now you can see what's inside. So let's make the home button work. Since it's a button, only buttons can do this, but since it's a button, you can do an event dot mouse, and Roblox makes this easy. All you have to do is type in mouse and it's there. Press tab. Now you're gonna want to add a parenthesis. Type in function, add another parenthesis, but then go over here and delete this parenthesis. Now you have your mouse button click function ready. So what you want to do here is you want to make every other menu invisible but your main menu. You want to make your main menu invisible. So go ahead and do m.visible equals false, s.visible equals false, mp.visible equals false, and mm.visible equals true. You don't want to really mess with your side menu. You don't want to make that visible really, because that's your side menu. That's how you get around stuff. Now that's your home button. Now if you notice, if we go ahead and make our settings menu visible, and notice if we turn on our main menu, it will go in between. It will go like that. You can just do, I don't know, just clips descendants. That doesn't really do much, except that when you move it out, it's not visible. But you can just go ahead and open a settings menu. Okay. Now play here. You don't need to run because it does actually need you to be in the game. So here you are, and you see it errored. Attempt to call an RBX script signal value. That's Roblox's error because, oh, here it is. Okay, I completely forgot this. You can't just do mouse button click. You need to do :connect. Mouse button one click connect. You need to connect it to a function. You need to connect the mouse button being clicked to the function. So, sorry about that, a little error. Alright, now, we have our settings menu there. We have our settings menu here, and if you click home, now it's only this menu. Of course, none of these work, but if you click home, that's the thing that appears. So go ahead, click main, and we'll go ahead and copy this, paste it. Now change home to maps. Let's just do maps. Now, all you have to do is MP is set to our maps menu. Make that true, and make everything else false. That's all you have to do. That's maps. Let's go ahead and do our music menu. Go ahead and make music true. Make that false. And then we just need to make our settings false and true. That's it. So now you have your side menu all done. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the main menu too. But before we do that, we need to go real quickly. We're going to do a little setup. So first it makes the main menu visible, and now what we want to do is we want to get the local player's name, which means your player. Because each player is a local player. Each player has a local player, and that's them. So get the local player's name, your player's name, and put it in there. So let's do this. mm.username.text, again, a value of username because it's a text. It's a because it is a text label. We can get its text. We can set its text equals. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Game. Now, what does game do? Game is outside of workspace. Basically, it makes it so you can select any of these. So let's do game.players.localPlayer. So now we have the local player .name. That will set the text of the username to the local player's name. At the end here, we'll make a loop, which will always set the time to whatever time it is, while wait 1 do. Now every 1 second it does this. Every 1 second. While wait 1 do, mm.time equals game.lighting.time of day, or clock time. I prefer clock time because it shows the clock time. Although we'll not do AM/PM for you, this will be military time. AM/PM is quite a bit more complicated because then you have to calculate what time it is, but still, it's not that hard. mm.time equals game.lightning.clock time. So now that will constantly happen. And loops. And then over here we'll do functions. And then functions end. So that's the beginning and the end of functions. So go ahead and just do this. Just copy this, alright? Paste it. Now, you do want to add a divider. Home, maps, music, settings. Add a divider here. Now change this to MM. Now that will, since all these are named the same as in the side menu, you can just copy and paste. However, there's no home button in the main menu because you're at home. So just delete that. That's all I have to do. Now, if we go ahead and test it, you should be able to go through the menus, which is just what we need to go through the menus. So home, you can go to maps, music, settings, home. You can do that in here. Now as you see, our name put in here, but we got an error. Now, errors happen a lot of the time. It's when you mistype something or something goes wrong. Time is not a valid member of frame, that. So the issue is, we forgot to add .text. Comment down below if you caught that before I ran the code. Comment down below, I saw that before I ran the code. It's really interesting. I like to see your guys' comments. So now you can see it says 14, that is clock time. If I set lighting, if I set the time to 18, it's now going to say 18. If I set it to 7, it's now going to say 7. So that's just what we need. Now for the last thing. Now the last two things. So I'm going to teach you, we need a remote, alright? So, like this, remote event. Now rename this infotainment remote and create a script inside of it. Normal script, not local script, normal script. Now, name this handler. Now, there's two sides of scripting. There's local side, which only you see, and there's server side, which everyone sees. If I were to just play music through the local side, then only I would hear that music. Now you can do that if you want, if you prefer that only you hear the music, or you can choose to do it server side like I'm doing, like this example today, where everyone will hear the music. Now the only two things you need to make server side are the turning up of the volume and the playing of the music, which aren't too hard. So let's get started. So first we need to know when an event comes through. Script.parent.on, and that's it. Roblox shows you what you need. On server event, connect, function, delete that, and here we go. Now in here are your arguments that you pass through. So let's say I were to fire to the server. So let's say, just go and make it fighter. Set volume mouse button one click connect function, like that. Let's say I want to fire to the server. What the text in volume is. Do to number. Actually, not yet. Now, if you want to reference that variable, you can find it by doing s.volume.text. That's the text of it. But we're going to fire to the server. Now, this is just temporary, so up here, let's make a new variable, local handler equals script.parent. So, this scripts.parent, we'll do one more, .parent, so this is parent, which is starter GUI, .infotainment remote, we're not gonna fire server yet, so get the handler, define it. Now down here, this is where you fire to the server. Handler, fire server, and now here are your arguments. Now when you pass something over like hello world, this will get it. So make sure you always have a player in here. When a local script is firing to a server side, there's always going to be a player. That's how you know who the player that's firing is. So you can warn player.name, and then also warn arg. So that'll warn what it's the player's name and what it'll warn the player's name and what you fired. So if I click set volume, you'll see it actually errored. Infotainment remote is not a valid member of the player GUI. Again, that's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and just stick this inside the screen GUI. We'll just do that for now. Delete one of the parents, so script.parent.parent. The script's parent is infotainment. The infotainment's parent is screen GUI. We're just gonna fire to that remote. So hello world, we're gonna fire to that. Now just make sure it does not error over in the console over here. And it did not. So let's go ahead and go to our settings. Click set volume and you'll see there's my name and there's my hello world. That's just what I sent through. Now isn't it? So what we're going to do here is we're going to this is the point where we're going to put the infotainment into the car. So go ahead and put it into the car, into a chassis tune, and then plugins. Just put it in there. Now I'm actually going to get rid of the revving sound of this car because I really don't want that. Now what we need is grab this infotainment remote and put it over here into the body. Do not put it into body. Don't put it into body. Don't put it into minus wheels. Do not put it into the plugins. Just put it into the car next to the A chassis tune. So now we just need to adjust this. A chassis adds a car value in here, so you know where the car is. So you can do script.parent.parent.car, which is in here. This will tell you where the car is. So it'll be that basically. So it'll tell you where the car is. Car.value. Always do a dot value. That if it's a variable, always do a dot value, unless it's a variable defined by the script itself and it's not an external variable. An external variable is a variable that's outside, such as if I were to create a bool and then reference it, that's an external variable, whereas if I was inside the script and made a variable like that, that's an internal variable. So let's go ahead and run this, and we'll just make sure it works by getting in the car. And here's our system. Now that's just an error from the chassis, but if I click home, it shows my name, the time, and I got these. So I can click music, there's my music, maps, there's my maps, settings, and if I click set volume, you'll see it still fires, because now it has a reference to my infotainment remote. So, let's do this. Let's do arg and arg2. So, if arg equals, if the argument is equal to something, then this is a simple if statement. I already taught you that in the last episode, so I don't need to go through that. If if the argument is equal to, let's just say volume, then script.parent. So keep in mind we're getting the infotainment remote. Script.parent.parent.parent.body. Now, right now we don't have any places for it to play music. So go ahead and make a new part. Make sure you anchor it. Put it anywhere you want. You can make it visible or invisible. Put it into the body. Name it MP. If there's a part in there, you don't have to bother with any of this. If there's a part in there called MP, you don't have to bother with any of this. But if there isn't, go ahead and just do this. Make it non-collidable. Add a sound in there. And that's it. Just add a sound. You can adjust the volume. Make sure you adjust this. Change this to linear. Change this to 100. Change this to 50. So now, if you're 100 studs away from the car, you won't hear it instead of hearing it from across the map. So let's go ahead and play. Now, if we did everything correctly, you'll see that the part is still floating in midair, and if we were to drive around, just go ahead and turn that down. If I were to drive around, you'll see everything is fine. It sticks with the car. So what we're going to do is .body.mp.sound.volume equals arg2. Now we'll do an else. Again, I already taught you about else's. Else if. Now, if you have other things other than volume, if you have more than 2 things you're passing through, you're going to need an else if. But right now we don't need that. We just need a normal else because we're only passing either volume or sound through here. Else. Script.parent.body.mp. Alright, now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Now you need to add the sound, and that's called a sound ID. .sound ID. .sound ID equals. Now, you can't just put in the ID. You can't just put in a number because although when you put in a number, Roblox automatically fills that up for you. You see it adds RBX asset ID. You need that. But your script won't do it for you. So you just need to do that. .arg2. I'll just put in the RBX sound ID. So now that we got our remote finished, go ahead and it's really easy from here. And for here, we're just going to do handler fire server to number, which sets whatever you put in there turns it into a number. To number s.volume.text. Alright, that's just the set volume, and then m.song or music1.mouse button 1 click connect function. Make sure that the songs that you add in here, make sure they're different. And also make sure you don't add in this screen GUI when you add your infotainment. Now, if you want to edit your infotainment, you need to drag it into here, create a screen GUI, and drag this into the said screen GUI in order to edit it. And for now, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the music menu. Actually, we're going to disable the settings. Open up the music menu, delete everything but that My Music 1. Drag it to the top. Go ahead and close out music, so just make it invisible because it will automatically make everything else visible, and put it back in plugins. Now when you click the music one, connect function, handler, fire server, m.music1.id.value. Of course, put anything as the first variable, so let's just do song. So first variable song, second variable an ID. And you're done. You just scripted your first infotainment system. Now once you've done this, you can edit it. You can change the icon, you can change anything in it. So there's the time, there's everything. If I go to maps, my map is here, settings, I can set the volume, and if you go ahead and look inside the chassis, inside body, there's our MP. Our sound is currently 1. If I set that to 5 and press it there, it errored. Okay, this is important. Here it errored, and see, it errored because we just put a number in here. So what we forgot to do is if we look in the remote, it checks first if volume, it checks if volume is the first argument, but instead we passed something else. So it tried to set the volume to a number, so that's not what we want. Just change this to volume and add a comma. That's how you separate strings. So we'll try again. A lot of programming is trial and error, so don't get angry if something just doesn't work. That's normal. It happens all the time. So go ahead, home, music, My Music 1. Now you saw we didn't have any errors. If we go ahead and go into the drift chassis, it changed the music there, but it doesn't play the music. So all we have to do in here is do this. Right here where it does that, script.parent.body.mp and .sound, and just like firing a function, you're just gonna do play. There you go. And your music's gonna play. And similarly, if you want to stop, just make a button that fires to the server to stop. There it is. Now I can go ahead and in settings, let's just make sure it's not too loud. It shouldn't be. Alright, set volume to 1. Set volume to 0. There we go. Set volume to 10. This is gonna be loud. Now you can do all that. And guess what? This is yours. You just scripted yourself an infotainment system. Not many people can say they've done that. So congratulations. If this video helped you out, go ahead and share it with your friends, leave a like, leave a comment down below if you saw things that I missed when it aired. And, well, I look forward to see your guys' scripting. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.